This happened in February 2016, when I was 23. I was living in northern New Mexico and had driven up to Boulder, Colorado to visit a friend for the weekend. I'd taken the route many times before and was comfortable driving long distances alone. The trip back was uneventful until I stopped for gas in Alamosa, Colorado. It's the last major town before home, about 90 miles away, with mostly empty desert and a few small communities in between. Around 6 p.m., as it started getting dark, I noticed a dark blue sedan pull out behind me and follow onto the same highway. At first, I didn't think much of it, but soon the car started tailgating me. No matter how fast or slow I went, it stayed right behind. I figured it might be a cop waiting to pull me over, but nothing happened. Feeling uneasy, I pulled into a convenience store in a small town. The sedan pulled in right behind me, but no one got out. After waiting several minutes, I drove off again. The car kept following. When I crossed into New Mexico, I knew this definitely wasn't a cop. My heart sank as I drove deeper into the dark Taos Mesa. I didn't have a working phone, just an old iPhone that only connected to Wi-Fi, so I couldn't call anyone. Eventually, I missed my usual turn home, but found a well-lit scenic rest area where I could turn around. The sedan followed me again. This time, I decided to confront the driver. It turned out to be a normal-looking middle-aged woman. She said she thought I was her daughter, which made no sense. My car had different plates and was covered in bumper stickers. If she truly believed that, why hadn't she called her daughter? I told her off and she apologized, but when I turned onto my remote dirt road, she followed. I pulled over and yelled at her to stop. She apologized again but didn't leave. I drove home anyway, knowing my boyfriend would be there. She pulled into my driveway and got out, asking if she could spend the night because she was tired. I started screaming at her to leave. My boyfriend came outside, and the moment she saw him, she ran back to her car and sped off. To this day, I have no idea what she really wanted or why she followed me so far. Story 2. I'm in my 20s now, but this happened when I was 12. My grandmother and I would go on yearly road trips, either within our country or to a neighboring one since we lived near the border. On this trip, we traveled to a rural part of the neighboring country to visit her old friend. The trip was fun, and we made many pit stops. On the final stretch, my grandma pulled into a remote gas station. I really had to use the restroom, so we went inside after fueling up. As soon as we walked in, I got a bad feeling. The clerk looked off. He gave me the creeps. He smiled in a way that felt wrong and kept watching us. My grandma seemed to notice too. She paid for the gas and asked for the bathroom key, which he handed over very slowly. After using the filthy restroom, we got back in the car. That's when things got worse. The man closed the shop and got into his own car. At first, we assumed it was a coincidence, but after hours of him still behind us, it was clear we were being followed. My grandma didn't stop driving unless absolutely necessary. She didn't have a phone, and though she roughly knew the area, she waited to reach familiar ground before pulling into a police station. When we arrived, the man followed us there and parked nearby. He just sat in his car watching. Thankfully, the police handled the situation immediately. I'll never forget the way that creepy smile vanished from his face when they approached him. We never traveled through that area again. Story 3. A few years ago, my husband and I were driving back from Yosemite National Park. We weren't staying inside the park, but in a nearby town. One evening, on the road back, I saw someone lying on the roadside. Both feet pointed toward the street. I told my husband, but he thought it was just trash or something. Still, I was certain. By the time we got back to the hotel, I had convinced him to go back. We returned to the spot, and the person was still there. We pulled over. My husband rolled down the window and asked, "Are you okay?" No answer. He asked again, louder. Suddenly, a woman sat up. She was wearing black clothes, a brown jacket, had a purse, and some water bottles. Her makeup was intact, and she looked well put together, but also fragile. She said she was trying to walk to the Chevron station, where her mom was supposed to pick her up, but that station was 7 miles away. She thought it was only 1 mile from her hotel. We offered her a ride. She got in the back seat, and we made small talk. She said she got tired of walking, and had just laid down to give up. It was winter, and she had no gloves or hat. When we dropped her off, she sat on a bench in front of the closed Chevron. We offered to stay, but she declined. There was no cell service, and we were worried. Back at our hotel, we noticed 2 police cars that weren't there before. I asked one officer if they were looking for a missing woman. He said yes. I told him everything, and he thanked us. He didn't give details, but said she was smart to leave. Later, I checked the police log. She had been severely beaten by her husband at the hotel. She escaped, called her mom from the front desk, and fled before he could stop her. He was arrested. I often wonder what happened to her. I hope she didn't go back to him. Story 4. When my daughter was 2, I was struggling as a single mom and decided to take a road trip to the California coast. I booked a cabin near the beach. Before I left, my stepfather gave me a loaded .38 revolver, which I kept under the driver's seat. Late at night, after passing through San Francisco, the road was empty. My daughter slept peacefully in the front seat, back when it was legal for car seats to be in front. A car passed me, then slowed down to drive beside me. No matter how I sped up or slowed down, it stayed near. The man turned on his interior light and motioned frantically for me to pull over. I ignored him. I was almost out of gas, but there was nowhere to stop for miles. Finally, I saw a gas station and exited, but the lot was empty, and I didn't feel safe stopping there either. I drove past it into a dirt clearing, the car still following me. I pulled over and jumped out, grabbing the gun. As he got out of his car and approached, I aimed the revolver across my roof. He froze, then turned and got back into his car. He drove off without a word. The rest of the trip was quiet, but I stayed on edge the whole time. Story 5. A few weeks ago, I drove a friend home to Colorado from Ohio. It was a 22-hour road trip through Indiana, Illinois, Missouri, and Kansas. I'd never driven that far before, and I was excited. After 12 hours of driving, I stopped for gas at a strange station that was closed, except for the pump lights. The place felt eerie but quiet. It was an old-style pump that required pulling a lever after inserting the nozzle. While I was figuring it out, I heard a voice, possibly a man, say something like, "Hey," from beside the closed building. I saw nothing, so I kept pumping. A few minutes later, I heard whistling, like someone calling a dog. That's when fear kicked in. A man appeared, wearing a brown coat with the hood up and red shorts. He shouted, "Hey, look at me when I'm talking to you," loud enough to wake my friend in the front seat. She sat up, looked at him, and he immediately turned and walked away fast. We heard a car start up and speed off. I never saw the vehicle clearly, it was too dark. After that, my friend drove, and I slept. I still don't know what that man wanted, but I'm grateful I wasn't alone.